How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to my garage, where in this video we are checking out the all-new 2024 Mercedes E-Class, and this is the 450 all-terrain. And yes, the wagon is back. So let's check out its cool features, hardware, and some cool tips and tricks I discovered that I'd like to share with you guys after daily driving one of these. But first, let's start off with the starting price. So 2024, I'm also assuming the 2025s will also start around 70,000. This one has an MSRP price of 74,000, but with destination options like the driver assist as well as the super screen, this one with delivery and destination fee is $84,000. But like all the reviews, I personally like starting off by popping the bonnet, as my European friends will call it. And it's this red lever right here, which is quite interesting. But it should pop open. And what powers this wagon is a 3-liter turbo mid-hybrid inline 6 that produces 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. It's all-wheel drive with the Mercedes 4MATIC all-wheel drive system that allows this vehicle to achieve a 0-60 time of 4.6, which is quite impressive for a wagon. And tied to this engine is a 9-speed automatic transmission. I am going to remove this engine cover in a bit, but in terms of oil type, it does not specify other than Mercedes-Benz oil recommended. I really can't find anything here, but I'll have it on the screen once I'm editing the video what type of oil this Mercedes takes, and if you could buy it at a AutoZone or something as an example. So let me take this off. So removing the engine cover is fairly easy. However, this part of the engine cover is ridiculously hot because here's the manifold and it literally is right next to the engine. Personally, I'm a bit concerned because that's just a lot of extra heat next to the engine, which it doesn't really need. But you do have access to your spark plug coils right there, it looks like. ECU looks like to be located next to the air box, which is right here, and it does look like it's easy to access. You just pull these out. But you may need to remove some additional screws so you have access to your filter. So just giving you the heads up. I don't see the throttle body, but I'm assuming it's somewhere right. Oh, here it is, right there. So if you're a mechanic, you know exactly what this is. Feel free to pause any section of the video at this point so you can see how the maintenance are. But I don't see a dipstick here, so it's reliant on a digital dipstick reader, which will all be read in the center console in the car, unfortunately. So maintenance wise, it is a bit of a hassle, but if you're buying a Mercedes, I recommend doing a lot of research if you plan on doing maintenance on your own, or if you're buying a really used model if you're watching this video 20 years or 10 years later. In terms of the battery, I do not see the 12-volt battery, so it should be located in the back. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. But grabbing a flashlight internally, this doesn't look terrible. It looks like it's really easy to work on. It does give you a lot of extra space with the hood open up. And I think we found the 12-volt battery right here, actually. Or unless this is just a jumper. It's just a jumper location. I don't see the 12-volt battery located in there. So it has to be in the back. I'll keep looking until I find it. But your radiator fluid is located here. But no location to the fuse box that I see. So I did put the engine cover back on. While I did that, here's the location for the windshield wiper fluid. But real quick before I close the hood, a cool thing about Mercedes is that you can actually extend the hood to go up even more. And with the special tool, I believe you could lock it in place, because this is how far up it could go without those additional tools, and gives you amazing access underneath the hood to work on it if you absolutely need to. In fact, I think this is enough clearance to remove the engine if you absolutely need to. But this is definitely a car that you want, to the average user, you will want to consider taking to the dealership to have service done on it. So that's closed, and let's look underneath the car now. So since this is the all-terrain, there is a plastic skid plate down here, but everything is really sealed. So yeah, it doesn't look like we have easy access to the oil filter. But this car is pretty low to the ground. I can't really go underneath to actually check for you. And yeah, this is plastic, but good amount of protection. But yeah, this front end is pretty nice for the refreshed version. These are adapted headlights, which also have like an off-road mode, which allow these headlights to adapt to the terrain and the level condition you may be facing. So these will automatically self-level to give you the maximized best off-roading performance when it comes to lighting in the dark. but these do support swivel action. They're adapted high beams, of course. And by swivel, I mean when you steer to the steering wheel left or right, it will illuminate both the right or the left side on your behalf. And these lights also do like a welcoming animation as well when you start up or turn off the vehicle. Now I did turn on the headlights just to highlight how much wider it is from the previous generation, as it is said to be 1.1 inch wider from the previous generation and about an inch longer in length as well from the previous generation of the wagon. And in terms of ground clearance, it is able to get up to 7 inches of ground clearance, and I believe in off-road mode it's able to give you an additional inch. And to give you a real world number how that looks like in the real world, here's my yardstick. Here it is along the Mercedes, and yeah, if you include this little aerodynamic flap right here, it is around 6.5 inches. If you raise it up to its max, I'm sure it could easily reach 7. But if you disregard this little flap, this car does have close to 9 inches of ground clearance in its normal ride height, which is more than enough for like parking at a mall or something like that, as an example, if you ever scrape your bumper. Because normally those cement blocks are just a little over 6 inches. So you have no concern parking underneath those things if you absolutely have to. And in terms of tires, you have hand hooks, and these are all-terrain tires, which are 255s with this big calipers right there on the side. And these are performing disc brakes as well, it looks like. But the rims, these are 19 inch. And in the back here, let's see if they still have those large calipers. They don't. They have the standard Mercedes calipers in the rear and regular rotors in the back as well. So it's quite interesting seeing that only the fronts have high performance brakes and the back is just standard. In terms of tire width in the rear, these are also 255, so you could actually easily rotate them. Now on the sides, you do have like all-terrain like plastic to protect this vehicle in case it does experience any rough driving in the snow or in the woods. This part protects the paint, so I like that. And you also have your sonar sensors located on the sides as well. This vehicle does feature full 360 cameras, and your gas cap is located on the passenger side, which gives you your loadout for your tire PSI right here, which is quite interesting. I kind of like that instead of having to go in the driver's door. But this does take premium fueling. As you can see, it takes 91 minimum. But if I would lock the car right now, the gas cap does lock with it, which is quite nice. And if I unlock it, I have easy access to it. I like that. But in the back, I do like the side design. The side profile of this car is really nice. The Mercedes did a good job designing this. Roof rails is standard, so it's great. If you want to put like attachments on here, you can. In the back, pretty standard hatchback. But you do have the updated tail lights from Mercedes, which features the Mercedes emblem in there as like a little Easter egg. And if I do this, it automatically opens. So it does have that foot thing. It does have a privacy cover, which automatically opens and closes once the tailgate's open. And you do have additional storage underneath here as well, as you can fit quite a bit of stuff down here, but no spare tire, unfortunately. And you can have that cargo cover lock up straight up like I did right now. But in terms of battery location, it is located right here in the trunk. So you got to remove all of this to get access to the battery. But you do have a nice little cargo net right there, as well as buttons to lower the middle row seat as well. And in here, I'm assuming would be your fuse location, which it is right there, which is pretty standard for German vehicles that have the fuse box located in the back, I've noticed. You do have tie-down hooks right here for your cargo net. The seats do fold down remotely. They just don't go back up, unfortunately, if I press this button. But if you need a spare tire, again, with the cargo net, you could do something like this and just put a spare tire right there, or put it on a roof rack or something if you really are adventurous. But already you can easily see that this is a good amount of cargo space, even with the seats folded up. I personally haven't had any complaints about the cargo space in the back, and the seats do somewhat fold pretty flush down too. And then like every Mercedes in the tailgate, you can add like a emergency triangle right here if that's your thing, or store a flashlight or something like that. You do have that cool cargo for your emergency kits. And then of course you do have your lock tailgate button right there, where it'll automatically close that and lock all your doors all at once. Now, towing capacity. The E450 all-terrain can tow up to 4,600 pounds, making it ideal for those that need to haul like a small trailer, boat, or other equipment. And there is an optional 2-inch hitch package available, featuring trailer stability assist for safe towing. So you can opt for a 2-inch hitch if you absolutely need to. And then moving along, in terms of the rear seat space, it's pretty standard, really. There's also a center row fold down right here if you need to bring in like large supplies like skis or something like that. You can fold this down by simply just pressing on this button, and there you go. You have tunnel access to bring in like skis or something like that through here. And before we start talking about the inside of the seats, you do have this cool net where you could extend this and attach to these holes to give you like this little net. So if you do have a pet or something like that, you could always disconnect the cargo cover and just have this up so your dog doesn't jump in the car with you. Then you do have anchor points on all seats for your kids. And this folds down to give you cup holder access or a little tablet slot right there. But if you tap again, it'll give you full access to your cup holders. Mercedes has been doing this for a while. So you do have functional AC vents back here so they can also stay cool. Little compartments right here so you can store stuff. You got hooks, more hooks, as well as your LED light and your snap handles. But in terms of backroom space, there is a good amount of headspace. I have about close to 5 inches of headspace. I'm 5'8", to give you a rough estimate how you'll probably fit in here, but I'm sure somebody who's 6 foot shouldn't have any issues, especially if they move their head out more. They have more access because it does have the panoramic glass roof, which actually does divide into 2, which is kind of cool. But the ambient lighting does continue back here with your door lock controls, your automatic roll down windows, and the doors themselves do have a nice deep storage compartment, which also can hold a large water bottle. And then for your USB-C ports, there's 2 of them located on the very bottom right here. It does illuminate. I'm just not sure if the cameras could pick that up. And then for the key fob, this is using the latest generation Mercedes key. This is actually real aluminum, feels extremely premium. And the beauty about this key is this silver button, when pressed, will give you access to the valet key. So in total, this does have 5 buttons, because this red one is like your panic or find your car in a parking lot in case you're having a hard time finding it. You can press that, it'll sound the hazards as well as your car horn. And over here is your lock, unlock, and yes, you do have the ability to open up your tailgate by long holding. And yes, you can also close it from here as well. In terms of commonly but cool features, key fob features, of course, by locking the vehicle and then hold down the unlock button once, you'll roll down all your windows, as you see right here. And then by locking the car and long holding the lock button, let's see if it rolls them all up. It does. So it does have the global control, glass control option, which is quite nice. But to access your car after you lock it, you just tap here. It'll automatically open up like so. And you can press again from here as well to manually lock the car. But this does feature the walk-away lock ability as well. But we hop in this car, and yeah, you can see the Mercedes projector right there, which looks nice at night. But let's say you don't want a physical key fob on your person. Well, you could also download the My Mercedes app, which will give you access to a digital key fob that you can have paired to your smartphone. This way, your smartphone is the key fob to give you access to your car, so you could drive off like a Tesla or something, as an example. This does have that ability. Now, we do have the super screen option in this Mercedes, which I'm going to go ahead and open the garage and turn on this vehicle. Give me a second. And so this is how the super or hyper screen display looks like, as we have 2 12-inch displays for both the driver and the passenger side. They could just tap on here to like wake it up, and we'll give you access to similar apps you see on the main screen, which this happens to be a 14-inch. But with the screen setup, I have noticed that this screen does reflect a little bit too much glare while driving in direct sunlight. So I think the standard screen option would have been just fine, because it will give you like a nice wood interior. Aside from that, everything's pretty much standard and similar between those 2 different screen options you have available. Because right here you do have access to like, well, this is a nice little cover right here, but when you push open, it will give you access to your cup holders. And this can be flipped So it gives you storage and one cup holder access right here if you absolutely need to. And you see there I already have a USB-C connector connected to the USB-C port. And if your key fob's ever low on battery, this is where you'll rest it to still be able to turn on your Mercedes-Benz in case the key fob is dead. Located right here is your wireless phone charger, which goes in snugly. And again, you could just push here to keep it all like hidden, which is really nice. Actually, this is probably one of the best like cup holder covers I've seen in the vehicle market. And then just push down on the cup holder to give you access to your cup holder again, which is quite awesome. Center armrest does give you this little divider, so if your passenger has their arm on their side, you can still have access to it like this, or you could open both of them up automatically. Gives you access to 2 additional USB-C ports. But in terms of like space down here, there's not really much, but very practical for like smartphones, wallet, or mail and stuff. Right below this 14-inch screen, you do have your mode selector right here. So this car does feature off-road mode, eco, comfort, sport, or intelligence, and you could also customize the intelligence as well. I'll go more into detail about the super screen in a little bit. Your hazards are located down here, as well as the volume slider and to turn on or mute your audio. Long hold for about 30 seconds will reset the screens if it ever acts funny. But when you press this button, this will give you quick access to your vehicle functions like lane keep assist, steering assist, or auto raise ability. It gives you quick access to that. And on the driver's side, you do have memory seats as well as ventilated seats, or you can run both at the same time, which is kind of funny. And you can save up to 3 custom profiles, and your seat controls are located here, which also control the headrests. And your mirror controls are located here. But the cool thing about this, if you select, I believe it's the left side, and you put the vehicle in reverse, it's not left. If you select the right side, this mirror will automatically fold down, so you can see the line as you're backing up. Again, if you leave it on the left side, it won't do that, it will stay fixed. But if you select the right side, it will automatically pivot down so you can see your line as you're parking. And then of course the center button will fold in your mirrors if you absolutely need to. And this is also a little slider that you'll typically do that to open up your sunroof if you absolutely need to. And the limit looks to be almost all the way. Good amount of space right here. And then just do that to like close it. In terms of garage remote access, is located right here in the mirror. You got your SOS, your Mercedes Me that you want to use for roadside service, and this is for an actual emergency. Your light controls for your rear and your front passengers, or you can turn them off entirely. And it does have motion sensors right here, assuming that's what these 2 holes are. And you just simply tap the light if you want to individually just turn them on. In the passenger side, they also have memory seats of their own with ventilated seat control as well. No heated seats in the back seats I've seen earlier though, unfortunately. But you could also manually adjust your headrest with this little button on the side. Mirrors are included for both 2 sun visors. And opening the door, you find your parking, emergency brakes right here, as well as your headlight controls. And it does feature these type of columns to put the vehicle in drive and park. You just push down here for park. And then over here is your windshield wipers controls as well. Steering wheel is pretty nice. It's circular, not a flat bottom, but it is all touch sensitive as well. Now this 12-inch display can be customizable because if you tap home, you can select between these different styles to choose from. And I believe there's an option for a heads-up display. Then this center screen is also customizable, and it does support like a little mini map if you want to run a map right there. If you're wondering how you have access to the trunk, the little trunk button's located right there, so you can remotely open up the back hatch from the driver's seat. So this 14-inch display does feature wireless CarPlay as well as Android Auto, which I have access to by simply pressing on here. I really do like how the interface for CarPlay looks like on here, because notice how the wallpaper kind of extends, which is quite nice, and your icons will be located down here. But this main screen is fully customizable as well, and some of these icons have like little shortcuts as well to vary on the app that you're using. And then in the navigation tab, you can just tap here for quick navigation for your work or home, radio controls, and if you long hold, of course, you can always just reorganize them to your own personal preference. Now this screen does have app support, because if you go into the app, you'll see a lot of popular third-party apps located here, including YouTube, where for some reason it's not in this app photo. It's probably located all the way at the very end, right here. Here it is. Here's the YouTube app. It also has a web browser as well if you want to surf the web. This vehicle can be used with a hotspot, or you can activate the My Mercedes LTE, which you can find more information on the top corner over here, where you can switch between your notifications, phone battery stats, or you can turn on the camera so you can actually take a selfie. And I'll show you how that looks like right now by opening this app, going into the camera app, hit OK, and you agree. And then you could basically take like a group selfie right here with like friends, family on long road trips, and you click here to see like the camera roll. And you can save it all right here, and I believe you can also send it to yourself as well. But in the Mercedes store here, these external cameras that this car has, you do have the ability to run them as dash cams. You just need to download and purchase the digital extras right here, and I believe the dash cam, yeah, it's $200, but it's a one-time purchase. It will give you dash cam functionality, which in my opinion, I think that's a great deal. But over down here, you'll see additional third-party apps, and there's more game apps coming out in the future, like Fortnite from my understanding. So this unit is pretty capable to run some powerful, high-intense AAA title games in the near future. Conference calls apps like Zoom, Microsoft Meetings, and WebEx as well. You even got beach buggy racing. You can just download these right here. I'm sure Mercedes is going to continue adding more app support on this as well. But when it comes to climate control, unfortunately, it's all digital. It all has to be controlled here. On your menu screen, this is how the climate control looks like. Air quality, this vehicle can monitor the external air quality and actually purify it in the inside, which is kind of nice. But in the comfort tab, you see this little triangle. If you press on here, give you quick access to your ambient lighting, which this car supports a lot. Or you can do like your own custom one if you wanted to use a color wheel. And in the effects, you can allow the effects to adapt to the music that you're listening to, which is kind of cool. And in real time, it does update too. But in the seat tab right here, you do have seat kinetics, which I like to describe these kind of like massage seats. Both the driver and passenger seat will randomly like lift up, lower. It's really interesting. I'm sure this is good for like long road trips. It's really hard to describe other than the fact that it will just randomly like move forward and move back, move the bottom part of your seat up and down. It's interesting. But you do have heating settings right here for the steering wheel, if you like to hear heated steering wheel to go off when your heated seats are on as well as automatic seat position too, where you could just adjust the height, your personal height right here, and then let the vehicle set the position that's ideal for you. This is kind of interesting, but this is what Mercedes thinks is my driving position for someone who's 5'8", and I don't like it. I don't like it, but I do like the fact that it has that seating suggestion as well. But getting out of there, in the off-road tab, this will give you like the off-road gauge, monitoring your tire pressure, the terrain, compass. You can manually raise the vehicle from here as well if you need to. Turn off traction control, enable manual mode, so you utilize the pedals on the steering wheel, or your front-facing camera as well. So you can have the front-facing camera enabled as you're off-roading. Really cool stuff right here. And then info tab, this will show you more graph information of your suspension, acceleration, where here you can also monitor your horsepower, your pound-feet of torque, your PSI level for your turbo, your boost pressure. It's really interesting stuff. And then next over here, again, I already showed you all that earlier today, but here you can find your vehicle settings. Everything here is pretty much standard to the most part. One thing, however, that I did forget to talk about, well, in comfort, one thing I liked enabling is easy exiting, where your steering wheel and your seat will move back when you turn off the car, making it easier for you to get in and out of the car. And in roof blinding, by having this enabled, when this is open, well, it's closed now, but by having that enabled, whenever you turn on the car, it will automatically open up your roof covering and will automatically close when you turn off the car to keep the interior cool. And your occupant reminder, you can turn that off. You can enable belt adjustment as well. Pretty standard stuff. But in the systems section, in the My Mercedes, you can utilize the Advance My Mercedes virtual voice assistant. By that I mean, like, you could ask it complicated tasks, you could talk to it like a normal human being, and the Mercedes will be able to respond to your answer quickly. So it does have that ability, which is quite nice. But sometimes I have noticed I prefer having this off, because when I'm listening to music, and if you also like singing while you're driving, it may pick up your command and just interrupt you. Just giving you the heads up. This feature is something you want to try out, but you may find out that it interrupts everything you're doing sometimes. And then in the apps, you have your app settings, and that's basically it in terms of that. But if you tap on the assistant tab and you hit camera and you open up the camera cover, that's what you need to tap, because if we go to the back of the car, you'll have access to your rear camera right here, so you can wipe it down and clean it up, and then it'll automatically tuck back in so you don't have to see that camera. So if your rear camera is ever dirty, just go on settings and go to assistant. In the camera section, just tap here to open it. You may need to tap above here to allow the vehicle to stay on. But something that this car does have is whenever you're listening to your media. So we go into a radio as an example and just select a station. If you select this icon over here and select 4D, you can adjust the volume to the seats, because this car does feature a 17 speaker setup and has the ability to allow you to actually feel the music for both the driver and passenger seat as well. You could adjust the audio right here, or you could go down to 0 if you find that to be kind of annoying. It's kind of like the D-Max experience almost. It's quite interesting. You definitely have to feel it. But exiting out of here, you'll also find quick radio settings to the EQ by just hitting the gear icon. And you can go from 3D, pure, or personal sound for the best sounding experience for you. Yeah, I could feel the seats moving right now. It's really interesting. It's kind of cool. It's something you definitely need to feel first. You can select the style from here. It's pretty cool. And just like that, we have successfully created a custom profile that we like. Or you can select one of the pre-made ones, like the 3D one. And on the very bottom right here, you could do pure focus for only the back seats or the front drivers, in case somebody's trying to fall asleep in the back. All right, driving the E-Class wagon from Mercedes. Okay, after driving this thing for one whole week now, it's quite nice. It handles like a sedan, not sporty, but it has a nice like center of gravity. I can make comfortable turns at high rated speeds if I have to. Acceleration is phenomenal. This thing has all the power anybody could need for daily driving purposes, of course, and still gets an okay MPG average. Right now I'm seeing 27 miles per gallon, 27.8, but realistically, if I actually did try, I could easily achieve 30 miles per gallon. And then since this is a mid-hybrid engine, the auto start and stop whenever I'm at like a red light or something like that, the response is quick. Like right now, we came to a complete stop, engine turned off, but my AC was the same. It didn't like slow down my AC fan speed or anything like that, like some other stop and start engines typically would. And then we're about to accelerate on the freeway, so let's do a 0-60 incline. Let's go. And 60. Respectfully. Good. And that was just on comfort mode too. So, and it still has plenty of power if I actually have to absolutely make a safe entrance to the freeway if I needed to. But right now there's no need. Traffic is going. So we're cruising at 66. Quick. Good. I like that. And then of course visibility. It's like the sedan. There's no issues whatsoever in terms of blind spot. The pillars are properly sized. It does have all the important features, lane keep assist, acceleration. I'll consider that a safety feature as well. It has the Mercedes advanced drive system, driver assist. I have to make a safe pass. There's a car going like 90 behind me. That was my train of thought. So to bring my train of thought back, look at this Oreo Coca-Cola. Tastes interesting. All right, but back to the driving. It handles well. It's a good looking wagon. It's practical for daily use. It's quiet. The speakers in the seats is really interesting. Never seen that before, but it works. And again, if you don't like it, you can just disable it in settings like I showed you earlier. Would I personally take a wagon over a regular sedan? Yeah, actually, I would. Wagons, to me, I love wagons. And recently, BMW is bringing back the Wagon M5, and that looks quite interesting. I am aware how ridiculously heavy it is, but something I will probably consider because it has an insane acceleration time. But you're paying for that insane price tag. I believe it's like 150. This, 80,000. But back on what I was saying earlier, MPG wise, this thing gets a really good MPG. Full tank of gas, I was able to get close to 500 miles of range under a single tank. However, I did forget about the capacity, but I'll list it right there when I'm editing a video on fuel capacity. But full tank of gas, I could comfortably drive from Northern California to Southern California if I want to do like a road trip to Los Angeles without any issues. And the additional ground clearance that this all-terrain wagon has is a nice peace of mind in case I have to do a little bit of off-roading. I'm not going to scrape or damage anything. Which, if you live in California, all the roads here are never flat. And then the passenger side, they have access to YouTube as well. But then, as soon as they start watching like a video on YouTube or something like that, it'll activate like a privacy screen, so the driver's side cannot see their screen. It's just gonna look black. I thought that was kind of cool, but also interesting. So if you have a passenger on the side and they want to be entertained while on a long road trip, they can enjoy YouTube or browse the web as well on their screen. Just again, on the driver's side, they are unable to see what they're viewing through that 12-inch display. And that is all the cool stuff about the 2024 as well as the 2025, this new body design of the Mercedes Wagon E-Class 450 to be exact again. It's definitely a fun car to drive if you need something larger, but you don't need an SUV. You just need something that handles really well like a sedan, but also is able to be practical for your Costco hauls or other stuff you want to bring in. I'm sure I could fit a large dog in the back while still having people in the back row seats and seat them all comfortably. But please let me know in the comment section, what do you think about the E-Class wagon? And if there's another wagon you want me to get my hands on, feel free to also comment down below. I'd like to hear your feedback as well. Thank you so much for watching.